We're recording. So welcome everybody. I'm glad you guys came to visit me tonight on this call. I'm going to be talking a little bit about the keto diet, kind of my experience with it, how to get started, tips, tricks, hacks, all sorts of stuff. So it should be a lot of information. Like I said, if you have questions, feel free to type them into the chat and then I can answer them at the end. But most of you know me, but I'm just going to introduce myself anyway. I'm Jennifer Hayes. I have been a health and fitness coach now for almost 4 years, but recently have just started getting into the keto diet. So I am not by any means an expert, but I have learned a little bit about it, and by trial and error since I've started. And I've had a lot of people recently asking me, hold on one second. Actually I don't know why this should be on speaker view, but can you guys see me? Okay. I don't know why it's not showing me. Anyway, okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and do this then. So anyway, so I have recently started keto, and so through trial and error, I have kind of learned some tips and tricks and things that have helped me kind of get started because so for a long time, I was following a pretty much like a low-fat diet, which pretty much all of us have been taught to do. Fat's not good for you, so that's kind of what I've been doing. And then, but after a while of doing that, it just wasn't working for me anymore. And it was really, really hard to keep up with it for a really long period of time. And then also I was finding that I was hungry all the time. Like I had to eat like every 2 hours. So I was eating like breakfast, and then 2 hours later I was eating a snack, and then 2 hours later I was eating lunch, and then I was eating another snack, and then dinner, and then sometimes another snack. So I was just always hungry. And I thought it was because my metabolism was speeded up or something like that. But now I've come to learn that it actually was because my body was running on glucose. And when your body runs on glucose, which comes from either carbs or sugar, then you as that glucose gets like sucked into your body for energy, you get hungry again. So if you have like maybe like cereal for breakfast, I'm just using sugar as an example, an hour later you may get hungry again because your body's burned through all that sugar. It can make you crash, which I was finding again at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I was crashing. I was always tired. So the keto diet is a little bit different. So what it is, some of you may know this, some of you may not, but I just want to go ahead and just kind of talk about what it is, how it works, all that kind of stuff. So what it is basically is a low carbohydrate, high healthy fat. I don't want to just say high fat because it's not, it's really better to eat healthier fats like avocados, coconut oil, like almond, not almond, I'm sorry, coconut oil, olive oil, not almond oil, and things like that versus like, I mean, yes, you can have bacon, yes, you can have cheese and all that kind of stuff, but it's better to have fats from like a healthy source. So it's low carb, high healthy fat, and moderate protein, where before I was eating a moderate carb, low fat and higher protein diet. And what I found, so also with keto, like I mentioned earlier, your body is actually running off fat as a fuel source versus glucose. So instead of running off the carbohydrates or the fruit or the sugar that you're eating for energy, your body will then use the fats that you're eating or your stored fat for energy instead. So your body, it's actually a more efficient way for your body to run because you're not having those spikes, you're not having those crashes, you're not having to kind of constantly chase your appetite all the time, because when you're eating more fats in your diet, it actually keeps you full longer, so you don't have to eat as often and eat as much. So that's kind of one of the benefits of it too. So there are a couple ways to get into ketosis, and what ketosis, the keto diet is based off ketosis. So when you are eating a high healthy fat, low carb, moderate protein diet, and I'm going to get into the ratios a little bit in just a little bit, you can cause your body to go into a state of ketosis. And what ketosis is exactly what I just said. Your body starts to burn fat for fuel and give you energy from fat versus from glucose. So the keto diet was actually established probably like 100 years ago. I think it was like 1920s. And they just established it because they were seeing that people were suffering from seizures, and they put them on a keto diet to help and found that it actually helped because their body was using energy differently, and it affects your brain and it affects a whole lot of different things. There's a lot of benefits to it, that they actually stopped having seizures. So that's kind of how, or they were having fewer seizures. That's kind of how the whole keto diet started. So it's been around for a really long time, but just now is kind of starting to gain some more popularity. And so I don't think it's going anywhere. I mean, it's definitely a healthy way to live. And it's so different because we're taught our whole lives that eating fat is going to make us fat, when really, if you're doing it in the right way and eating with the right ratios, you can actually start to burn fat, and it can help with weight loss as well. A lot of people have, on the diet, have lost like hundreds of pounds. So, so it is definitely a healthy way of eating. So how you get into ketosis, again, there's 3 ways you can get into ketosis. The first way is obviously the keto diet, eating a low carb, high healthy fat, moderate protein diet. The second way is obviously if you're not eating anything and you're starving, your body's going to start eating or burning those fats for fuel because they're stored there for a reason. That's why you have fat in the first place. But obviously I don't promote starving yourself, so that's not really an option. The third way is therapeutic ketones, which I can talk about in a little bit, but I wanted to focus more on the keto diet tonight. But I will touch on that later. So the benefits of being in ketosis there's a lot of them. So number 1, obviously we talked about this already, but burning fat for fuel. So you can actually start to burn and lose fat from eating this way. So that's one way of, and obviously weight loss can come with that as well. And it does come with that. And then another benefit to being in ketosis is like better brain function. It actually makes your brain function better. Your brain runs on those ketones. So it just gives you better mental clarity, better focus. You also can see, you have possibly better sleep. You can wake up kind of feeling refreshed. You can have, it will cause your body to reduce inflammation. So that's another great benefit, especially if you suffer from a lot of inflammation. So there's so many benefits of being in ketosis. But for me, I mean, I think it's definitely the energy. I mean, obviously the fat loss is great. And then better mental clarity, like reducing brain fog, all of that kind of stuff. Also, hold on, sorry, I'm making sure I was looking at my notes. Oh, yeah, because you're eating more fats, you're going to have another reason. It's not only you're burning fat, but it's going to help you with appetite suppression because the fats actually make you feel full longer, so you don't have to eat as often. So before, like I said, I was eating like 5-6 meals a day. Now I'm eating 3 and I'm feeling satisfied and I don't feel like I need to constantly be eating more, which is awesome. So one of the things that I wanted to show you guys tonight was how to count your macros. And macros are macronutrients, so that's fat, carbohydrates, and protein. And that is kind of how there's a specific ratio that you need to be following in order to get into ketosis. And so, I mean, some of those may fluctuate a little bit depending on the person, but there is kind of a general guideline. So I want to show you how I calculate how I figure out how many macros is for me, because it's not going to be the same for everybody, because you also need to be looking at your calorie intake as well. So, if you have more weight to lose, or maybe you're not as active, you're not going to get as many calories per day, or, if you're more active and maybe only have a few pounds to lose, you could, you could have a little bit more calories that you can eat per day. So I wanted to kind of show you, because this is something that was really hard for me in the beginning. I didn't really understand for me what ratios I was supposed to be eating and how many calories. So when I first started, I got really frustrated because I went on a website, which is a great website. It's a great starter website. It's called dietdoctor.com, and I'll show you guys that in a little bit as well. But I found just kind of like a one-size-fits-all keto diet meal plan, because they tell you also, some people say, when you're on the ketogenic diet, that you just eat until you're full and then you stop, which is great, except that I eat really fast. So I eat a lot more food before I feel full than maybe I should. So when I was following that, I was eating what was laid out in this meal plan, but it ended up just being way too much food. And it was, I was eating too much and I was eating too many calories, and it wasn't really working for me. I just didn't feel good. I felt like there was so much fat in my diet that I just felt kind of gross. And I was missing, I wasn't eating as many vegetables and fruits and things like that. And so I was just not feeling as good. So I found kind of better ways to get my fats in, but still stick using this tool that I'm about to show you, sticking within my ratios, but still not feeling like gross all the time. So I'm going to share my screen, and then I'm going to show you guys the tool that I use. And I can provide all of the links to this in the chat if you need them. So let me share my screen. Okay, sorry. Okay. So hopefully you guys can see this. So the website that I use is it's ruled.me. And then if you go to the top where it says Keto Diet, all the way to the right over here, you'll see the keto, if you look on the bottom, the keto calculator. So that's where I am right now. So this is kind of how I figured out exactly my macros and what I should be eating every day. So it'll walk you through. You'll choose your gender. Obviously, I'm female, height and weight. I'm just going to put my height, and then weight when I started was 136. Okay, so I would personally like to get down to 125. That's where I feel the most comfortable. But again, like whatever, like I'm getting pretty close. Age for me, I'm 39. So body fat percentage. So this one is kind of, you may not know exactly how to figure this out. So they actually will give you a guideline if you click on that little arrow. So there's a guide to visually estimate your body fat percentage. So unless you have some type of way to measure that, then this is kind of what I use, because I didn't have an accurate way to measure it. So I use this as a guide. So I clicked on this guide to visually estimate. They'll show you, hold on, I'm going to just show you the female. So they'll show you kind of what, like, so just think about what you look like. So if you have a 10 to 14% body fat, you look like this. I do not look like this. If you have a 15 to 19% body fat, you might look like this. If you have a 20 to 24, you might look like this. And then the, it kind of goes on from there. So it'll give you kind of a visual guide, and it's not 100% accurate, but it definitely is helpful. And this is what I use to figure out mine. So, I mean, I'm kind of in between these two. So I went with, what did I go with? I think I went with like 29%. So I'm going to go back to where I was. I think I might have to type all this stuff back in now, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. Did it keep? Nope, it didn't keep. All right, let me just put this in real quick. Female, 5'3", oops, 136. Okay, so I'm just gonna put in here, I'm just gonna put 29. Active, okay, so it'll ask you how active you are on a daily basis. For me, I put moderately active, I think, or scheduled exercise, lifting a few times a week. Yeah, I don't exercise every single day. I used to, but now I'm working out probably about 4 times a week. So I think I put moderately active here. So what are your end goals of a ketogenic diet? Lose weight, maintain, gain muscle. So this will calculate differently depending on what you choose. So I'm just going to keep lose weight. How much of a deficit do you want? So this says it's never recommended to go above a 30% calorie deficit. It's also recommended that you never go above a 15% surplus. So I think I just kept this the same at 20%. How many carbs do you want to consume? So I put 20 net carbs because generally that's kind of where you want to stay. So, and we'll talk about macros, like complete macros in a little bit, but so I put 20 net carbs. How much protein do you want to consume? So for here I'm active. So I kept this at, I think 1 gram. You can, hold on 1 second. Sorry. That one won't let me. Oh, okay. 1 gram. How much you be eating per day. So here, this is where it's going to tell you your macros. So for me, I should be eating 1,329 calories per day. 106 grams should be from fats, 20 grams from carbs, and 74 from protein. So you'll see like the protein is moderate, the fat is high, and then the carbs are low. So this is generally what I try to stay at. And so the ratio for macros typically would be 5% of your calories per day should be carbs, and those carbs would include pretty much vegetables, because vegetables actually do have some carbohydrates in them. And there are certain vegetables that are better than others. And then there are lists that you can find like all over the internet on which ones have like the different carb breakouts per vegetables, but generally like leafy greens are good. Carrots are not very good. Definitely no corn. Corn is actually very high in carbs, believe it or not. Like cucumbers, like things like that, like that have a lower carb ratio in them. And then the fats, which I know that sounds like a ton of fat, but I mean, that's 70%, about 70% of your calories per day should be from fat, 5% from carbs, and then 20 to 25% from protein. So that's how you figure out your macros. So that's what that's telling you. So then I'm just want to move on. I'm going to share my screen. So I use to track my macros every single day. I use MyFitnessPal. So I'm going to go to MyFitnessPal and show you how I use it. So obviously MyFitnessPal has an app. You can also access that app online. So for this sake and purpose, I'm going to use my online app. So for MyFitnessPal, okay, so if you go to food diary, if it will work. Why isn't it? Is this it already? Hold on, I'm sorry, it's like stalling now. So if you go to the food diary, okay, so I put in everything that I ate for the day. I'm going to go to yesterday because I haven't filled out all today. Hold on. So I had the sausage ball puffs, which I prepared over the weekend. I also had some, I was going to have bulletproof coffee and then I didn't end up having it. So actually this is 0 tablespoons. So I didn't actually have that yesterday. And then I put in, so I build my meal plans the day before. Typically, like I will find recipes online. You can import recipes into MyFitnessPal. It'll tell you exactly like how many calories and what the ratio and breakdown is for macronutrients. So for this, like I was going to eat a salad. I ended up not. I had leftover coleslaw that I was trying to eat before it went bad. So I ate that instead with my cheeseburger. And then I made this awesome 90-second almond bread, which I'm going to do a video on soon. I definitely want to show you guys that because it's amazing. And then for dinner, I was going to make this cheese soup, but I ended up making it tonight. So I had keto egg roll in a bowl last night. So down here, you'll see, so I ate a little bit more calories yesterday because I worked out and I burned like almost 500 calories at my workout. So I did add a little bit more, but because my daily goal was at 1827. But so I had like maybe 100 calories more than I was supposed to. But in any case, at the very bottom, on the app, it's at the very bottom. Here it is. Where is it? So that was my log for the day. Sorry, I'm trying to find. There is a visual that you can look at for. There's a visual like graph that you can look at for your macros for the day. But I mean, here you'll see like, here's your goal. So my goal for the day yesterday, 23, 142, 114 for carbs, protein, and fat. And then there is a way, I'm going to complete this. Let me see. It's not showing me. What is this full report? Sorry, I should have looked at this before. I thought I looked at it the other day, but I guess I didn't. But there is a graph that will show you exactly how many what your ratios were. If it's on, I know it's on the app. I just don't know exactly where it is here, so I'm sorry. I may have to do like some type of a video on that. But in any case, on the app, like if you go all the way to the bottom, there's a button that you push for nutrition. And it'll show you exactly, what your ratios are. So what I usually do is if you find recipes online, you can actually add them with the hyperlink right into this. So it'll calculate all this for you. So you don't have to sit there and type how many carbs, how much fat, how many protein, it'll just calculate it for you based on that recipe. And then it'll add everything up for you so that you don't have to do all of that, which is really nice. So what I do with this app, then I will just input everything in here and then just kind of mess around. So I had done this the night before. So one of the reasons that I did not have the bulletproof coffee yesterday was because I knew with my breakfast, lunch, and dinner that I already hit my macros for the day. and I didn't need to add fat. So one hack that I can tell you guys is like when you're playing around with your food, and I'd like to do it ahead of time just so I know exactly what I'm eating, because I'm just weird like that. And like if I feel like if I don't know what I'm gonna eat, then I'm just not gonna be able to stay on track. But one of the things that you know, I will do, like if I see that like maybe my protein ratio is higher than my fat ratio, or my carb ratio is higher than it should be, then I will add some fat in somewhere else if I haven't hit my calories for the day. So that's kind of how you play with that. Or like in this instance, like I knew I wanted buffalo coleslaw that day to eat up some of my leftovers, so I took this stuff out. But you can just kind of play around with this. I knew I was going to have a cheeseburger because that was leftovers from the night before. So initially I had planned on having lettuce, cucumber with some salad dressing on it, but then I decided to change my mind to do this instead. So, and then I will change my meals around for the week also, like for dinners. Like I was going to do the broccoli cheese soup, and then I changed my mind, decided to do egg roll in a bowl. I ran my macros and ended up the ratio was fine. So, you know, it's just kind of a trial and error kind of thing. You don't have to be perfect in the beginning. You know, even if you want to start small and do like just start maybe eliminating some carbs from breakfast, or doing bulletproof coffee for breakfast. And if you don't know what bulletproof coffee is, I will tell you. So basically bulletproof coffee is a cup of coffee with some coconut oil and some butter. You can measure it out depending on how much fat you want in it. I add a little bit of liquid stevia. I stick it in a blender. I blend it for like 5 seconds. And then when it comes out, it has like this big thing of foam on top. It's like a latte, and it's really good. And it's a good way to get in some healthy fats because of the grass-fed butter and the coconut oil that are in there. So that's kind of how I track my macros. I know I really want to show you visually the graph, but I cannot for the life of me figure out how to show you that. So I'm just gonna have to move on because I have more stuff to cover. Shh, I'm doing a live call right now. Sorry, my daughter just came downstairs. So yeah, so let me talk now about, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. My kids just came in here. So much for doing this at 9 o'clock so that they wouldn't bug me. All right, everybody go.
Look my costume.
Everybody go. Sorry, guys.
I don't want to.
Okay, so I wanted to talk about kind of what to eat, what not to eat. So with the keto diet, I mean, you really have to kind of see how you feel. I mean, you don't want to eat like starches, carbs, bread, at least regular bread, potatoes, like all of that pasta, all that kind of stuff that's really, really dense in carbs, because if you're aiming for 20 grams of carbs a day, you're never going to hit that. You're going to blow through it. If following the macros ratio, that's what's going to get you into nutritional ketosis. If you eat too many carbs, it'll knock you out. One of the things that I struggled with in the beginning was, not knowing if I was in ketosis. And then, I mean, there are different ways that you can test your blood, your breath, or your urine. I know this is really disgusting, but they have ketosis strips that you can buy. You pee on them, and then they'll tell you if you're in ketosis or not. They change colors. There are different blood monitors you can do as well, but they are kind of pricey, because it's kind of like, I don't know if you've ever seen the diabetic test strips or if you've gone to the doctor and they've tested your blood sugar, you know that, what those, they prick your finger and then you put on the strips. The strips are expensive. I think they're usually like $5 a piece, so they're kind of pricey. And then there is also another way to test, and that's with the breath monitor. The breath monitors are kind of pricey. They're like $100-something, but they do last a really, really long time, and then you don't have to keep buying them. But the cheapest way to test is with the urine strips. So, knowing, one thing I struggled with was knowing if you're in ketosis or not. Another thing I struggled with was I just kind of felt gross. So I found personally that if I'm, I usually will start my day with a cup of bulletproof coffee. That is typically my breakfast. I'll have that, but I'll have that like around 6 o'clock in the morning. So then maybe at like 10 o'clock, I'll eat an actual breakfast, and I'll have, you can have eggs, and you can have bacon and all that kind of stuff. I do eat bacon, usually like probably once a week.
Mama,
but
Mama, I knew you were gonna say bacon.
You did, but it's not as healthy of a fat as, say, like avocado or coconut oil or olive oil or grass-fed butter or something like that. So, I'll have like eggs. I like to do I'll do fried eggs and butter. Like I'll put some butter in a pan. I'll fry some eggs. I may add some spinach to it. And then maybe a little bit of cheese. And then, okay. No, go.
I'm gonna sleep with you.
Just go with her for now.
No.
Go ahead and go. Go lay with Daddy.
I'm gonna wait till that's done.
Oh my goodness. Sorry guys. So anyway, so then for lunch, you know, you can have like a salad or something like that. Like, so I try to incorporate more vegetables in, because in the beginning I was eating like a lot of heavy cream and a lot of cheese, and you know, it was kind of more like, what?
There is everywhere.
They're there, but they're listening. You have to stop talking. I'm sorry. I was eating a lot of cheese and creams and all that heavy fatty stuff, tons of butter, like probably more butter than I needed to have. And so I just was feeling really disgusting. It was hurting my stomach. I wasn't feeling well. I'm like, this can't be right. Like, this isn't making me feel good. And so I really kind of pulled back a little bit, and then I started following more of the macros and like dialing down my protein a little bit, because protein actually will turn to glucose if you have too much of it. If you have too much of a ratio, please stop. Oh my God, guys, I'm seriously about to like kill somebody right now. And so, and then you may see also, you know, so anyway, so yeah, so kind of go how you feel, you know, and with fruits and stuff, like obviously I would stay away from bananas, things like that. They have a ton of carbs in them. Stick with like more berries, like raspberries, blackberries, strawberries, blueberries are all really good. You know, just have fruit in moderation as well. You know, you can find out the carb content to obviously anything online. So more hacks for me in terms of like, so bread. Everybody loves bread. Like, nobody wants to give up bread. I think
like bread.
that
I like bread.
Hey, Morgan likes bread. You can actually make bread with like almond flour or coconut flour or something like that. Yes, Kelly, I will talk about fasting. I saw your question. I only have 10 more minutes left. So you can actually, there are plenty of recipes for bread. Like, I am actually going to do a live video on a 90-second keto bread that I make. So I will share that in a few days. In terms of other hacks. So, electrolytes. So when you are in ketosis, your body actually, it can make you really thirsty. It's using fat as energy. So I would recommend taking an electrolyte pill, because you are going to need it. Like, you may have heard of the keto flu. A lot of that's because your body gets dehydrated. You need to drink a ton of water. On the ketogenic diet, you know, when you're in ketosis, it just kind of burns through. The ketones actually make you dehydrate a little bit. So you want to drink a ton of water, at least half your body weight in ounces a day, and then take an electrolyte supplement. I do recommend electrolyte supplements. You can drink coconut water or smart water, but you may not be getting enough electrolytes from those. So the tablets are usually a good way to go. They have cheap options at like Walmart or like pretty much any grocery store chain or drugstore chain. Alcohol on keto, vodka, all the like those kinds of light liquors are very low in carbs. You can have a moderate or small amount of them, or like a white wine on keto. But I will say, I mean, alcohol obviously will like cause you to hold on to fat, which kind of defeats the purpose of doing keto in the first place. So, I mean, I would definitely recommend, a lot of people say don't drink it at all, but you know, come on, like whatever, like a little bit here and there is not going to kill you. And then dairy. So some people find that when they eat too much dairy, it causes them to stall out a little bit and plateau. So if you do try it and you find that you're plateauing or you're not losing weight, I would try to cut back on some of the dairy. What? Morgan, I can't talk to you right now.
Why is my head this shape and not circle?
I don't know. Okay, so let's talk about fasting real quick. Yes, so you can, a lot of people, in order to kickstart their ketosis, will do like intermittent fasting. So if you've heard of intermittent fasting, basically it's like you don't eat. So you basically eat within a certain window of time. So within like an 8-hour window. So you may fast. So let's just say you eat from, I don't know, I'm just saying 9 to 5. That's like an 8-hour window. Obviously, you may want to adjust it. You may want to do like 10 to whatever 8 hours is after that. But in shorter windows of time is when you're going to eat all of your calories for the day. Oh my God. Stop. You're going to eat all of your calories for the day within that window. And then for the rest of the time, so basically overnight while you're sleeping, you'll fast. So typically, if I do an intermittent fast, I'll eat maybe my last meal at 8 o'clock. and then I'll fast for like 12 to 16 hours, depending on how, when I feel like I need to eat. And then I will eat my first meal after 12 or 16 hours of fasting. And that will actually, because that will cause your body it'll jumpstart your ketosis. And you can actually burn fat faster that way, and you can lose weight faster that way as well. People generally, doctors, like I've listened to a lot of podcasts on it, will recommend that you do that maybe anywhere from 2 to 4 times a week, but you don't have to do it every single day. So that's definitely it's not required, but it definitely can help. Also, another hack, obviously you guys may have heard or may not have heard, and earlier I mentioned therapeutic ketones. I actually do drink therapeutic ketones. What they are it's a powder that you add to water, and they will cause your body to go into ketosis. So I like them for a couple of reasons. Number one, because I know I'm in ketosis. I don't test with any of the testing things because I do take the supplements. So I know that my body's in ketosis, and then I just eat accordingly. But it also allows me, because nobody's perfect, to be able to have a glass of wine, or to, have a slice of pizza, or, to have those little cheats. I don't like to cheat a lot, because honestly, it doesn't make me feel good. I feel so much better when I don't have cheats. But it does give you a little bit more leeway, and you can kind of up your carb ratio a little bit with it, because you're drinking the ketones, so it's putting your body in ketosis, and then eating a good, low carb, high healthy fat diet. In addition to that, it helps. It just helps a lot, because your body's in ketosis anyway from the drink, but you eating with it, following a ketogenic diet with therapeutic ketones is like a double whammy. It helps so much. And so I do use those. So that is another thing that you could do as a hack. I wouldn't recommend eating a very high carb diet and using the ketones. It could cause you to have stomach problems and things like that. And also if weight loss you will still feel benefits of ketosis from therapeutic ketones if you're not following a ketogenic diet, or you're eating more carbs, like the energy and the better mental focus and clarity and all that kind of stuff. But you may not see the weight loss that you want or the fat loss that you want, because your body then will be burning 2 fuel sources. It's going to be using ketones as well as glucose in some instances. So just a note there. So I talked about the water. Adding salt to your food, because when you're in ketosis, your body, like I said, it kind of acts as a diuretic. So you may need to add salt to your food, because ketosis can deplete magnesium from your system. Other than that, different recipe sources. I use that rule.me. She's got some amazing recipes on there. Another one is the dietdoctor.com. That's the one where I use kind of the one size fits all meal plan. But he does have good recipes on there, but I don't know if I would follow that one, because it may not fit within your calorie ratio for the day for your macros. And then I do have if you follow me on Pinterest, I'm Jennifer Hayes Fitness. I do have a Pinterest board that is called Keto. So you're welcome to hop on there and follow me on there. And that way you can kind of see some of the stuff that I'm pinning. A lot of that is what you will see me talking about. So really quick, because we only have a few minutes, does anyone have any questions at all for me? And you can unmute yourself and say them out loud, or you can just write them in the chat. It's totally up to you. Any questions at all? Okay, so beans, yes. So beans and legumes, in terms of like starchier beans, like a black bean or a pinto bean, those do have a lot of carbs in them. So I wouldn't recommend having too much of that. You definitely want to check the carb content on that. In terms of like a green bean or something like that, again, check the carbs. I mean, you definitely could fit probably some green beans in, but you may not be able to have a ton of them. But green beans generally have less carbs than like a black bean or a pinto bean or kidney beans and all that kind of stuff. So when I'm making chili now, I'm not adding beans to my chili anymore because of that. Any other questions? Like any questions on like how, like starting or like anything that I can help with? I could definitely share a chili recipe with you for sure.
How can you hear everyone?
And I like chili. with this because you can still add the sour cream and you can add the cheese and all that stuff. So I do not buy low fat anything anymore. I buy full fat yogurt. I buy full fat sour cream. All that is like full fat. It tastes better. And again, like the fat in it makes you feel full longer and all that kind of stuff.
Mama,
but yes.
Mama, why doesn't anyone hear you?
They can hear me.
But where are they?
They're listening.
But I don't see them.
They're listening. Any other questions? See, there's Nanette. Say hi. And you can unmute yourself too if you do want to have. Was this helpful? Did this help you guys? I felt like I spit a lot of information out at you guys. But I wanted to make sure I covered everything. So, I mean, I'm definitely here, obviously, after this. If you have any more questions, or if you just want to reach out to me, I'd be happy to answer. What meat? So I definitely eat a lot of eggs. I eat eggs almost every day now, which I didn't used to. I will eat chicken, but I like to do, I do chicken thighs a lot with the skin on. I'm actually making a recipe later this week. I'm not sure which night, but later this week. And it's like a chicken thigh recipe with like a creamed spinach. So I'm looking forward to that. I'll still eat beef. But I don't eat beef a ton only because my husband hunts and we have like a freezer full of venison. So the meat that I eat typically is venison in terms of like, instead of beef, just because that's what we have and I don't have to pay for it. It's like in my freezer. I eat chicken, I eat fish. I mean, salmon's really great because it does have a high fat content. And I will eat chicken without the skin, but a lot of the times lately, I'm just leaving the skin on because, most of the recipes that I'm finding say to leave the skin on because of the fat. So, you can eat red meat, but again, like any meats that you eat, you want to keep it within that like 20, or not 25,